Hi Thrivers, Tammy here. Today we're going to unpack one of the most confusing and most important decisions people face in divorce, the home buyout. When people say I want to keep the house and buy out my spouse, it sounds simple, but the truth is it's one of the most tricky moves in divorce finance. And if you don't do it right, you could end up with a settlement that looks good on paper but leaves you stuck later. So stick with me for the next 10 or so minutes because by the end of the video, you'll know exactly what a buyout means, how to calculate it, what financing options are available, and the biggest mistakes to avoid. So let's start at the beginning. What exactly is a home buyout? In simple terms, a buyout is when one spouse keeps the home and instead of selling it and splitting the proceeds, they buy out the other spouse's share of the equity. Think of it this way. If your house is worth $400,000 and you still owe $200,000 on the mortgage, there's $200,000 of equity. If you're splitting it 50-50, each spouse is entitled to $100,000. So if you want to keep the home, you'll need to pay your spouse their $100,000 of their share, either in cash, through refinancing, or sometimes offset with other assets in the settlement. But here's where people get tripped up. That number isn't always as straightforward as it seems. Sometimes you need an appraisal. Sometimes debts or credits get factored in. Sometimes you offset with retirement funds or other property. The key takeaway here is a buyout is basically treating your home like any other marital asset and making sure the split is both fair and feasible. So how does a buyout actually happen? Let's walk through it step by step. Step 1, get the home value, usually through an appraisal or market analysis. And here's an important note. If you need a new mortgage as part of the buyout, you may want to coordinate with your lender and only pay for one appraisal, rather than doing one for the divorce and another for the refinance. Step 2, subtract the mortgage. Whatever's left is your equity. Step 3, decide the division, often 50-50, but not always. The divorce settlement dictates this. Step 4, determine the buyout amount. That's the portion you need to pay your spouse if you're keeping the home. The 5th step is securing the financing. This could mean refinancing into your own name, doing a cash out refi, or considering an assumption if that's allowed. An assumption, you cannot start the process of figuring out if you qualify until you have a divorce decree or an executed marital settlement agreement that is stamped by the judge. So you have to be divorced first. And step 6, transfer ownership. The spouse leaving the house signs a deed to remove their name from the title, and the new loan or assumption removes them from the liability on the mortgage. This isn't just about numbers, it's also about legal documents. If the quitclaim deed isn't filed or the loan isn't refinanced, your ex could technically still be tied to the house. And that's a mess you really don't want. And here's the big question. How do you actually come up with the money for the buyout? There's 3 main ways. First, a cash out refi, sometimes called an equity buyout loan. You refinance the mortgage in your name only, roll in enough cash to pay your spouse, and now the home and the loan are solely yours. Second, offsetting assets. Instead of cash, maybe your spouse gets more of the retirement account, investments, or other property to balance things out. And third, a mortgage assumption. In some cases, you can assume the existing mortgage in your own name and pay your spouse their share of the equity separately. Not every loan qualifies, but it can be a great option if the rate is really low. Here's the part most people miss. Just because you want to keep the house doesn't mean the numbers work. You have to qualify for the new loan on your own income, credit, and debts. Even on an assumption, it's a qualified assumption. That's why looping in a divorce mortgage specialist early is critical. It's not just about fairness, it's really about feasibility. So, all right, let's talk about the pitfalls. Here are the top mistakes I see all the time. Not running the numbers first, falling in love with the idea of keeping the home without confirming if you qualify. Ignoring future affordability. Just because you can qualify doesn't mean you'll be comfortable with the payment, plus the taxes, insurance, and maintenance items, and sometimes there's homeowners association dues. Forgetting the deed, financing without changing title, or changing the title without refinancing, both leave one spouse at risk. And settling too fast, signing an agreement that locks in terms before talking with a mortgage expert. Once in black and white, it's really hard or sometimes impossible to change. If you avoid these, you're already ahead of most people going through a divorce. And how do you really do a buyout? Start with a clear, agreed upon home value. Factor in mortgage and all debts tied to the property. Decide on fair division that makes sense in your overall settlement. Explore financing options with a professional who understands divorce guidelines. And put in writing both in your divorce decree and on the deed. And always, always think about long term, not just the house, but keeping your peace of mind. The goal is to make sure that the home stays a safe place, not a financial burden. And now you know a buyout isn't just writing your ex a check. It's a structured financial and legal process that makes sure one spouse keeps the home fairly, safely, and sustainably. If this video gave you clarity, do me a big favor. It really is meaningful to me if you hit the like or subscribe button and share with someone who needs it. And if you're in the middle of it right now and need guidance, check the link in the description. I offer free resources and consultations to help you understand your numbers before you make a decision. Remember, Thrivers, this isn't just about keeping a house. It's about creating stability for yourself and your family as you step into the next chapter. See you in the next video.